Very few people are talking about small language models. So can you just explain it for our viewers?
I think that's a very, very pertinent question for small and medium businesses, because simply because when you're an owner of a small firm, you're very, very ROI driven, you're very budget conscious, very price sensitive, because you have to manage a lot of things. Like you have to manage your payroll, you have to manage your core processes. You cannot just burn big money on AI project and then realize, okay, what did I achieve out of it, right? So it's never going to happen, because a typical small medium business owner is also risk averse, and while they are very tech savvy, but still they're very ROI savvy as well. And see why AI feels unreachable to many small businesses, because the whole concept of the big model, which we call as the LLM, the large language model. Now, why is it large? Because it has been trained almost on the entire internet, the entire knowledge of the world. Whether it is Wikipedia, or whether it is all the open websites, the open articles. Now, it's like, consider that as a Ferrari, and your use case as a small and medium owner, you may not need a Ferrari. You may just need a bike, right? So you don't take a Ferrari where you take a bike, right? For example, if you are in a crowded market in a street, you won't take a Ferrari. You'll just get jammed, right? So the point is, the horses for courses strategy really works here. SLM is a brilliant, brilliant innovation, because it's more affordable. It's even more accurate if done properly, and it's definitely a tactic, right strategy for a small and medium business. So let's say you have a small
Okay.
200% manufacturing business in Pune, for example. Because you spoke about manufacturing, let's take a manufacturing
Hmm.
example. And Pune, we know, is the Detroit of India. Like there are a lot of small auto component companies, a lot of manufacturing companies in Pune. A large language model is very expensive for them, and it's an overkill. It's very data hungry. So what happens is that if you don't give
Yes.
it the right data, it hallucinates a lot, and it is also disconnected from your privacy needs of a small business, from your local workflow. Whereas a small language model is the mirror opposite. It is light, it is focused, it is trainable
Mm-hmm.
on your data. You can actually train it on your domain corpora, things like invoices, your SOPs, if you have any case studies, or if you have any transaction data. Basically think of it like an AI apprentice. You're hiring an apprentice, but instead of a human apprentice, you're hiring an AI apprentice. Your
Huh.
cost is going down by almost 70 to 80%. You can run it on a local machine. So you can run it even on a local server. You don't need to run it on
Uh-huh.
a high-end server or a cloud server. You can run it on a local server. The best part is that data doesn't
Mm-hmm.
leave your environment. Now, the new DPDP guidelines, if you're in a regulated industry, there are very tight norms on data residency, and data cannot leave your local premises. So if you're in that kind of a business,
Oh.
it is very, very good to have a combination of a small model running on an edge device. So one of the other reason also, see, software and hardware always go in tandem. So what has happened is that there's one more reason the small language models are more and more getting adopted, is because now they're highly accurate. Initially, like in 2000, you can say 22 and 23, you would not have heard of small language models so much. You started hearing about small language models only from mid 24, and now actually 2025 is the year where the small language model is broken through, because now there are techniques. You have a distillation technique where you have a student training model learning from a teacher model, and then you have model compression techniques where basically you use techniques which do not sacrifice accuracy for latency, so you get much better latency, you without sacrificing too much accuracy. And there are a number of researchers that your performance does not degrade beyond 1 or 2%, but you gain a lot in terms of latency, fast response, and you can make it your domain centric and privacy centric model, basically. And coming to let's say an auto component guy. I'll give you a simple use case. So let's say you are a auto component manufacturer, and you make auto components. So basically you have a lot of maintenance logs. Like any manufacturing business will have a lot of maintenance going on in their parts, and you have a lot of maintenance logs. And that is very, very, very rich training data that you have. And that data is obviously not available on the internet. That is your proprietary data. So basically, the advantage is you take a small language model, you train it on your local server, you give it this 4 years of maintenance logs, and you can even do multilingual. You can, like, for example, you have recorded conversations of your customers and your dealers and your distributors in Hindi, in English, in Marathi. You can use that. You have your repair summaries. You have your you don't even need in I mean, at places where internet is not regular, you can use edge devices. So where there is even intermittent internet coverage, your edge device will continue the operation. There's no data risk. Like I have seen in the use case that we implemented, the productivity jumped by 18%, just by using the local data, the data of the company, the things like maintenance logs, repair summaries. So this is your quite power of small models.
Mhm.
And you can even run it on open source. You don't need to literally have a proprietary model from a large language player. You can literally run it on open source. But one thing, being mindful, small business owners sometimes they cut
Mhm.
corners. Cutting corners won't help. So you can't just budget for training. You also have to budget that tomorrow if the market changes, the customer behavior changes, or the distributor's behavior changes aligned to the market, you know, for whatever reason, the technology of that auto part changed, or the pricing changed. You have to be agile. So the moment your model drifts or your data drifts, you have to have your data hygiene, and you have to have a feedback loop, and you have to retrain your model. So and you need to have those kind of guardrails. So you need to have a slightly bigger budget, even
Okay.
with a small language model, to make sure that your decisions are explainable to your team, so that they don't think it's a black box. They know what is happening. They feel confident. They feel secure. And the moment the data drifts or the model drifts and it comes to your notice through the feedback loops, you are able to retrain the model.